to do is tell you a little bit about our partnership with Aston Martin first, and then tell you a little bit about the single malt whiskey that's going to be put in front of you, because it's really, really special. It's a beautiful whiskey that's really born out of the collaboration. And it's a collaboration that started officially from 2019. But the ideas of what we could do as a whiskey brand and as a heritage car brand, we thought, like, where can we go with this? And it really started off with a chance conversation around the celebration of the anniversary of the DB5. And we'd heard about this, we'd had a bit of a chance conversation, and we thought, what whiskey could we provide that could match the iconicity of the DB5? And single malt whiskies, believe it or not, is a relatively new phenomenon. Although the distilleries themselves have existed for over 200 years, people consuming single malt whiskies hasn't actually been happening for that long. Really only in the last 30 years has single malts become this kind of thing that's very desirable. Prior to that, single malts were consumed very locally at the distilleries, around the villages and towns where these whiskies were made. But really in the 90s is when it started to come to the fore. And there's one product that everybody will talk about. Collectors, we see collectors all the time, right? They're very unreasonable, irrational humans. Okay, there's this thing in them that just goes, I need to have that, and I will make it happen. Whether I can or shouldn't, or you know, it doesn't matter. They will make it happen. And whiskey's very much like that. Every whiskey collector that collects whiskey, you know, seriously as a real passion and an unreasonable hobby will have a Black Bowmore in their collection. It was a single malt whiskey that was distilled in 1964. This was the year that we moved from direct fired stills to steam pan stills. So there's a bit of a quirk within that. It was bottled in 1993, the first edition. We did 3 editions, and it was 31 years old when it was bottled. Black Bowmore was one of the first single malt whiskies to break the £100 mark. And people said, that will never sell. It can't work, it'll never work, it'll never happen. And today, the first edition of Black Bowmores sell very comfortably for over 15k a bottle. Okay? So when this idea came up, we said, well, Black Bowmore is one of the most iconic whiskies ever released. For many reasons, and that's one of them, is this shift to rare, aged, prestige, if you like, single malts. By accident, we found 36 bottles in unmarked glass in a cupboard in one of our warehouses, just about a month after we had the initial conversation with Aston Martin. And we said, I wonder if we should use that for this partnership. So we suggested it. Aston Martin came back to us and said, what do you think about this? Could we present this bottle in a DB5 piston? We were like, well, that's a bit rogue. I mean, we've never seen that done before. And we did that, exactly that. We actually released 27 bottles of this product. Although we had 36, I've got a few in the house, of course. We found 36, but there were only 27 pistons that we could use to house this particular bottle. 2 for archive and 25 for the market. And those bottles sold for 50k when they came out in 2019, and they sell pretty regularly now for about 150k a bottle in the secondary market, you know, to collectors and people who really desire those types of products. So that was the start. That was the first thing that we did. So we started to speak to Marek and the team. Cal was there at the time as well, and we started to see, like, where are these synergies? You know, what else could we be doing? So we brought Marek into the whiskey making process, and we used the golden ratio as our inspiration for balancing and creating combinations of flavour and aromas. And that was the sort of birth of the Master's Selection. This is the 4th edition that's in front of you of the Master's Selection. The first one was a 21-year-old, the second one was a 22-year-old, the third one was another 22-year-old, and the last one that's in front of you is a 21-year-old. And it's an amazing whiskey. And can I have a glass? You've left me out. I can't believe it. Sorry, I know. This is the only perk of the job, man. I need some whiskey. What's going on? always, the best whiskies that you'll taste always come in bottles like this, okay? They're unmarked sample room bottles. So when we're in the sample room, we have hundreds of little bottles like this with little concoctions and ideas and things like that. Because this isn't produced yet, this is how it exists at the moment. What I would like you to do is have a little look at the colour of this whiskey. This colour has a lovely, beautiful, I would say almost walnut type colour. So that's indicating that there's been some oak coming from Europe somewhere. Okay, maybe the north of Spain and Cantabria and Galicia, perhaps from the port lodges of Oporto, or maybe even further east into some of the wineries as you move around Europe. American oak gives you much more yellow gold style colour. But this is definitely something from Europe, there's no doubt about that. Now, holding your glass in one hand, what I would like you to do is take a finger from the other hand, and I actually just want you to touch this whiskey with your finger, and just give it a little touch, okay? And now what I would like you to do is to rub it in your hands, and I want you to get a feel for this whiskey, and I want you to take a deep breath, and you roll it in between your hands, and I want you to smell the beautiful malty nature of this single malt. And you should smell aromas of vanilla, wood, chocolate. You've got the right idea, my friend. You do, yeah. You smell fantastic. You smell fantastic. So it is quite leathery. It's a little bit of tobacco, and there's a beautiful depth to this. Now we do use, when we make Bowmore, we're from Islay. The island of Islay, which is a fair drive that way, worth it, okay? Especially in a 707, some good roads there. We have a 505 on island. We have a Bowmore edition DBX, which there was 16 made, I think, and it's an absolutely amazing car to have on the islands. We've got a few interesting features on that particular one, because we have tartan from the Islay Willow Mill on some of the inlays in the doors and the central console. We have a map of Islay on the headrest, which is really, really cool. And we also have some copper from the stills on some of the copper detailing around the car as well. Things like the sort of water holders, actually on the outside on the gills as well. There's some lovely copper inlays on that, which and it's in Bowmore blue, which we didn't know was in the colour palette historically of Aston Martin. So it's just an amazing vehicle, and it's a great way to explore the islands. But Islay's famous for smoky whiskies. Bowmore's not particularly smoky, as you will have found out from your hands there. And as you nose the glass, when we nose a whiskey, we're just going to pull it to your nose, just have a little sniff. Sorry, I'm dragging this out a touch. We'll get to tasting, I promise, very shortly. But you'll smell the similar aromas, but you're probably going to get more intensity coming through from the higher ABV. And that's something that we've always done with the Master Selection. We always present the whiskies at their optimum strength, and it is very similar to cars. You know, you don't want to hold back. You want to embrace that intensity and that force of nature that it is. And that's what this alcohol brings you. It's around 50% ABV, that is what we will present it at. Although it doesn't feel like that so much. It's got this beautiful fruity character on the nose. Have a little sip, just one, and I want you to hold it in your mouth for about 8 seconds. And just roll that around. It's quite sweet at the front. It's got this lovely woody character as it passes over your palate. And then it drifts off into dark chocolates, some lovely cherry notes, lovely warming sensation, and it's very calming. And these are the port pipes. Port pipes are a beautiful cask style from Oporto, and what they gift is this lovely softness but fruitiness to the single malts. So even at 50% ABV, it doesn't feel too hot. What I do recommend that you do, should you wish, is you can pop a little bit of water into this single malt if you want. And the guys, have you got some little water jugs that you guys want? Yeah. Okay. We'll pop some down, just add a little splash. And I'll give you the best analogy. I remember, yeah, so this is a sipper. We're definitely gonna be sipping this. You're not a sipper? Oh, yes. Okay, so you're smash it back like a cowboy. Yeah. Yeah. No, we're here for a good time. 100%. Yeah. One day. Yeah, there we go. That's it. I love it. Yeah. So as the water comes around, there used to be rules around whiskey. And I remember my father saying to me, son, the only thing you should put in a whiskey is another whiskey. Which I hate. Add a splash of water and watch this whiskey open up. As you drop the alcohol strength, you're able to identify more characteristics and flavours within the whiskey.